At the opening of the film, we see a young woman, Amber, making beautiful artisan coffees at a local cafe. She looks up at the news, where a reporter is speaking about a new superstar, Jake Collins, who used to be a tow truck driver that serenaded his customers for fun. He got caught on camera, and when it was uploaded to social media, it garnered millions of views and went viral, resulting in him scoring a record deal as the tow truck troubadour. Now, the nation is obsessed with him. The young woman seems bothered by the praise being heaped upon Jake, frowning in consternation as she goes to serve a customer. The customer turns out to be her mother and her sister June. Her mother saw the news report and is obsessed with Jake Collins. The family used to know him well when he was younger. He was an orphan from the local home, and he had some sort of relationship with Amber that didn't end happily. June elbows their mother to get her to shut up about Jake, seeing her sister's discomfort, while their mother changes tack completely and gushes about how proud she is of her daughter owning and running her coffee shop. Rolling her eyes, Amber walks away to go find her staff member, Mason. Just as she's giving him some instructions, everyone's phones go off in the cafe at once. Jake Collins has posted a new video, and naturally, as he's from their hometown, everyone is following his socials. Mason shows Amber the video on his phone. It turns out to be Jake announcing the release of his first album. He promises it's going to be a love letter to everyone who believed in him as a child, everyone who supported him, and the town he grew up in, causing Amber to walk away in disgust. Clearly, whatever happened between them is still affecting her to this day. Meanwhile, in his recording studio in Nashville, Jake heads into the room to start setting up for his single. However, it seems his announcement on socials was premature, because there's been some sort of mix-up and the band is just leaving. Confused, he waits to hear what's going on, when his manager Marvin appears and sits him down. He explains that it's been 6 months and they're still no closer to finishing the album because Jake seems to have lost his inspiration, and he can't keep waiting forever. Unfortunately, he's not prepared to throw any more money at someone he sees as just a one-off viral sensation, so he's firing Jake and taking away the record deal. Jake is horrified, watching him leave as his assistant grimaces apologetically. Jake's lifetime friend and talent manager, Tommy, is waiting to drive him off the site, since the company owned his car and also apparently his housing. Jake protests at the fact that he's having his whole life pulled out from under him, but his friend reminds him that his contract had key deadlines in it and Jake's missed all of them, so the record company is entirely within their rights. Jake's completely down in the dumps, but Tommy had foreseen that something like this might happen. He's been in the business for a while now, so he already packed up all of Jake's things from the apartment and had a plan in mind in case the record label dropped him. Jake wants to know where they're heading, but his friend won't tell him. All he reveals is that it's going to be a long drive and that he wants Jake to trust him. He's taking him somewhere he'll finally get the inspiration he's been missing for his songs. They drive for miles across open fields and plains, woods, and mountains, until they finally arrive at their destination, Lincoln, Colorado, the town they grew up in. The town council has named the new performing arts theater after Jake, and Tommy reveals that he's going to be staying in town for a while, and cutting the ribbon for the grand opening. Jake isn't exactly enthusiastic to be home. He didn't know where his friend was taking him, but he didn't expect this. His friend scoffs at his indifference. It's the perfect place to see some motivation, the town where everyone loves him. But Jake isn't so sure, voicing his concern that that may not be the truth. It seems he's not gotten over Amber either, and she's the first thing that comes to his mind upon returning. His friend brushes it off, driving them to his parents' place, where he and Jake used to have sleepovers as kids and where they'll be staying during their trip. It's now an Airbnb, as his parents retired to Europe after the pair of them moved to Nashville. Meanwhile, Amber stops off at the new theater, where she's teaching guitar to a teenage boy named Joaquin. He's an orphan that stays in the same boys' home which Jake grew up in years ago, and it turns out he's a natural talent at guitar. He immediately takes to playing the chords beautifully. Amber is impressed and thinks he'll be more than ready to perform at the opening in a couple of weeks, but Joaquin is still shy and unsure of himself. That night, Amber and her family are laughing around the dinner table about the time when the old family diner almost burned down, the diner that Amber has now turned into her bougie cafe. Her father had refused to call the fire department because he believed in young Amber's ability to manage the situation, even at 9 years old. Her mother almost faints at hearing the story, as she hadn't known about it. Amber is reminded of Jake, who was a part of that fond memory, and immediately starts feeling down again. The atmosphere around the table dampens as everyone hurriedly changes the subject, and Amber looks down at her plate, suddenly feeling morose. As they all leave, June sits Amber down on a bench and tries to make her remember all the good things about Jake and the time she spent with him, so that her sister isn't so bummed out while the big internet star is back in town. They reflect on how Amber felt after the breakup, when he just ghosted her and left, and Amber is grateful that she had the support of her family and already feels stronger just knowing her sister is by her side. June's husband watches them from the car as they hug. Jake returns to the house where Tommy is waiting for him. He's been out and about in town trying to go incognito, and luckily, he hasn't been recognized yet. He's had a great day seeing all the old places he missed. Tommy waits until he's settled in before he drops the next bombshell on him. He's signed him up for a gig the following day, somewhere that everyone originally fell in love with his singing. Jake is confused, wondering if he has to go back to towing cars, but Tommy won't reveal a thing. Amber arrives at the Performing Arts Center for her usual guitar lesson with Joaquin, only to find that the manager Ted has hired Jake to fill in for a lesson, hoping to gain some exposure. There's a gaggle of young girls outside filming everything for the internet. Amber holds her temper, knowing she can't blow up and go viral, so she pulls Jake aside for a moment to speak to him privately. He is instantly apologetic, not having known it was her lesson he was substituting for. He explains that Tommy set it up without telling him anything. Ted and Joaquin watch on, knowing the rumors about them having been high school sweethearts but not realizing things between them were that bad. Amber brushes Jake off angrily, denying that there's anything even resembling friendship between them anymore, before Jake pleads with her to at least have a conversation. She reluctantly agrees to let him come by the cafe later. That night, he stops by after closing time. Amber offers to make him a drink and they chat about his trip to town. She's surprised by how humble he comes across, despite his rise to stardom. He impresses upon her that he's still just Jake, the same Jake she knew. Amber asks if he plans to leave again after the theater opening, and he surprises her once again by revealing that he intends to stay a while and work on the album. Amber scoffs, remembering that the whole reason he left her, was to go and find his music to begin with. Jake sighs, knowing he owes her a real explanation for what happened back then. He grew up surrounded by happy families but never knew where he belonged, out of place, an orphan with no home. He felt like he needed to find himself to be able to write music. Amber never realized how he felt, and although the pain of his departure still hurts, she can find it in herself to understand. She makes him promise not to suddenly leave Joaquin, now that he's gotten involved in his tutoring. The boy is a lot like Jake, and looks up to him, and she would hate to see him get hurt by the man who's his hero. Jake makes a solemn promise not to break any more hearts. There's a moment between them as Amber leans across and subconsciously wipes some foam from Jake's beard. The old feelings are still there under the surface. Both of them aren't sure how to react, so Jake awkwardly gets up to leave. As he's departing, Amber stops him, asking him if there's anything else on his mind. She can tell that things aren't right, even after all this time apart. Jake clams up, though, unwilling to share his misfortune with someone he's so afraid to disappoint. She watches him go, confused by her feelings towards him and concerned that he's not telling her the full story. Amber heads to the salon where June works to vent to her sister about Jake's arrival. June is sympathetic, even as her husband Spencer grins with glee that Jake accepted the invite to open the theater. Amber confides in June that her intuition is telling her Jake is hiding something, and although she's been through so much heartbreak, she still cares about him, so she wants to try to help whatever he's going through. Her sister cautions her not to get too involved, because she doesn't want to see her get hurt again. At the Performing Arts Center, Amber announces that she and Jake will be co-tutoring Joaquin. Ted is relieved that they've found a compromise. As the manager heads out to leave them to the lesson, he reminds Jake that he plays the lute, in case he needs a band member for the album. Jake fist bumps him, to Ted's delight, and Amber rolls her eyes at his pandering. Later, Spencer is making a speech as they formally open the Performing Arts Center, and Amber claps at the back of the crowd despite herself as Jake takes the stage. People cheer and clap in the crowd as he makes a speech about being back in his hometown. He reiterates the importance of the experiences he had in Lincoln and whether, if he had the chance to do it over again, he would ever leave in the first place. Amber is now clinging to every word, knowing they're for her, even if he's still addressing the crowd as a whole. They lock eyes briefly as he finishes to a storm of cheers, but she makes her way out before he can find her in the throng. Back at the cafe, Amber sees Jake approaching and heads out to speak with him before he can distract all her customers. He apologizes for how he acted at the dedication, not meaning to have brought up old feelings again, but she doesn't mind. The old feelings are there whether they like it or not, and it's not just on his end. He comments on the transformation of the diner into her coffee shop. She talks about her journey of growth since he left, and how she's found the fulfillment she was looking for by taking over the cafe. Jake is emotionally affected by her words, wishing he could have found the same feeling in Lincoln himself. Amber quotes the Bible at him, about watering one's pasture instead of looking for greener ones elsewhere. He's immediately inspired by the line and bravely asks her to meet him again for coffee, to see if she can help him with his songwriting. Despite herself, Amber agrees, then heads back into the cafe with a smile. Back at the Airbnb, Tommy asks Jake how things with Amber are going. Jake tries to brush off the question, but his friend is more insightful than he gave him credit for and instructs him that to get his music back on track, he needs to sort his heart out first. Amber heads to her parents' house for a family dinner, surprised to find Jake at the table with her whole family, looking at pictures. She's embarrassed at his presence, not knowing he'd be there and not sure how to handle the familiar scene, and accidentally calls him a stranger, which upsets him, although he tries to hide it. Amber's father reminds him of an old trip they took together for a father-son outing organized by the school, and states proudly that he always thought of Jake as family, words that mean a lot more to Jake than the old man realizes. After dinner, Spencer is gushing over Jake before June drags him off. Amber teasingly asks him if he's going to take her for coffee like they agreed. The pair settle down in a cafe across town and he invites her to tell him how she felt after he left. He's feeling remorse for the way he ended things and realizes he never gave her a chance to vent. Amber admits that she hated him for a long time. She dreamed they would end up together, and she would have gone with him to Nashville if he'd asked, but he just took off without saying a word. Her family helped her through it, though, and she grew up, went to business school, forged her own life, and forgave him a long time ago, even if she didn't get over her anger. In a moment of vulnerability, she leans in and asks him the real reason why he left. Ashamed, Jake finally admits the truth. He was aging out of the system, afraid of not having a family. He felt like Amber would soon realize he wasn't good enough for her, so he decided he needed to make it on his own, to prove something to himself and the world. Amber is horrified that he would ever have thought that, knowing how much she loved him. Jake feels a tiny spark of hope that she might not have given up on him, that there might still be a chance for them. But she shuts the door before he can ask, reaching over and taking his hand, beating him to the punch by asking whether they can be friends. He quells the disappointment and nods, keeping up the facade of his glamorous lifestyle. He's not ready for her to find out that his dreams have already failed. Later, Jake sits alone composing on the steps when Tommy approaches him. His lyrics are getting better, but he's still not quite there with it. Tommy consoles him about being in the friend zone, but Jake sees it as an improvement over being strangers and is happy to at least be on speaking terms with her. His friend is exasperated at Jake's reluctance to tell Amber that he still has feelings for her, but doesn't press the issue, advising him to keep working on his song. It's so close to finally being there, but neither of them can figure out exactly what it needs. Amber is working in the community center, listening to music, when Jake arrives and greets her, taking out one of her earbuds to listen. He likes the song, pleased that she's into the same kind of music as he is. She apologetically indicates the work she has to finish, and he lets her get back to it, sitting down on the other side of the room to wait for Joaquin and absently strumming out a tune. It seems like even just watching her inspires him. During the lesson, Jake asks Joaquin about his family situation, and the pair share stories about the foster system. Amber turns off her earbuds discreetly, listening in without them knowing. Joaquin is curious about what happened between them, and Jake admits that his leaving was the reason they broke up and it was the biggest mistake of his life. Amber tries not to react upon hearing this. She joins the lesson a little later and Joaquin nervously asks Jake if he'll agree to play with him at Talent Fest. Fond of the kid who reminds him so much of himself, Jake doesn't hesitate to say yes. Amber calls June to the cafe and admits to her that she overheard the conversation, wanting to talk it out. She's completely jumbled after knowing he still has feelings for her and needs June's advice on what to do. June isn't surprised at the news, having heard his speech before, and just warns her sister to be careful, because Jake could be an entirely different person now from the boy she used to know. Amber, though, is getting caught up in a whirlwind of emotions and wants to give it another chance. June suggests inviting Jake to church with them that Sunday, so he could see her sing in front of the congregation, and maybe they could reconnect through music as they did as kids. When she's playing, Jake arrives and sits on a pew at the back. She's delighted to see that he accepted her invitation. He's watching the priest, drinking in the sermon about keeping secrets and how it can hold back freedom. After the service, he compliments her on her beautiful song and heads straight off to work on his own, finally understanding what his lyrics need and wanting to work with the inspiration while it's fresh. He's practicing it in the theater when Amber arrives, looking for him. She asks what he's working on, and he admits he's had writer's block for a long time now. He plays her the song, as much as he has written, and she's shocked by the authenticity in his lyrics, realizing instantly it's about their relationship. She hums along and suggests how to finish the chorus, leaving him dumbstruck that she was able to complete it so easily when he's been struggling for months. Faced with her kindness and his guilt, and with the memory of the sermon still fresh in his mind, Jake finally tells the truth about the record label dropping him. Amber is shocked and dismayed for him, listening with rapt horror as he unveils the whole story. She reassures him that the town loves him no matter what happens, but Jake can't bring himself to believe her words and insists he needs to finish the song to try and have another shot at picking up another label. Amber is supportive, understanding why he doesn't want to come out to the town as a failure given his past. While he's being honest, Jake reveals his feelings for Amber never faded. Of course, she already knew that, but hearing him say it is the push she needed. She leaps into his arms, pulling him into a searing kiss. She steps back, nervous, and laughs as a smile spreads across Jake's face as he takes in what just happened. Meanwhile, though, there's trouble brewing. Tommy takes a call from Marvin back in Nashville, threatening him with legal action over the non-competition clause in Jake's contract. Oblivious, Jake and Amber are walking side by side in the street, happily talking about rekindling their old flame. Amber suggests recording a demo of the finished song, but when the two of them consult Tommy, He gives them the bad news. As they have to wait out the clause, Amber's next idea is that they come up with another verse. Tommy is thrilled to have her back on the team, since she's a good influence on Jake, and congratulates them on getting back together. Amber heads to the salon immediately to tell June what happened. Her sister is happy to hear that Jake hasn't changed in the years he's been gone, and although she initially cautioned Amber in her approach, she believes her when she says that her old flame is trustworthy. Spencer chimes in with his congratulations as well. Everyone is excited to see the pair reunited. A little while later, Jake and Amber are out together, sitting comfortably and talking about the completion of the song. He puts his arm around her, relaxed and happy, and they look natural together. Amber's parents turn up, both thrilled at the reunion, which June didn't hesitate to spill to them, and ask Jake if he'll play for them. He gets up and, with a nod from Amber, goes ahead to sing their brand new finished song. Unbeknownst to them, it's being filmed, and before long the song goes viral on social media. Everyone loves it, spreading the news like wildfire, but they're concerned about the impact on the non-competition clause, and Jake rushes back to Tommy. Tommy suggests asking the social media website to pull the video, but before they can, Marvin calls them. He loves the single and wants to reinstate the contract, but Tommy hangs up before Jake can comply, because he wants to make Marvin sweat a little. Jake concedes that Tommy's been right so far and agrees to wait, then heads out to find Amber and tell her the good news. Amber asks him what's going to happen in their future, and Jake sits her down, talking to her seriously about his thoughts. He promises that although the record label is a huge opportunity, it's not what he cares about the most. He loves her and hasn't ever stopped, and this time he doesn't want to do anything to mess it up. She smiles and admits she loves him too, drawing him in for a soft and tender kiss. Back at the airband, Tommy regales Jake with even more good news. Marvin has improved the terms of the previous contract, but only on the condition that they head back the next day, because they need to record the EP by the weekend. Jake's heart drops, though, because that weekend it's Talent Fest and he's promised Joaquin he'll be there to play with him. Tommy shrugs. It's up to Jake to decide what he wants most. The next day, Joaquin is getting nervous about Talent Fest and Amber promises him that Jake will be there, no matter what. Back at the coffee shop, though, Jake arrives and it seems he's made his decision. He informs Amber that he's heading back to Nashville that night and won't be able to make the show. She's disappointed, but tries to hold it together because she knows how much this opportunity means to him. He's apologetic and torn up, but she reassures him that this won't be like the last time. However, when he bids goodbye and tells her he loves her, she doesn't reply, and as soon as he's out of sight, she looks away sadly. It seems as though the old memories of him skipping town are coming to the surface. As they set off, Tommy is hyped about the new opportunity, but Jake is still having second thoughts, unsure if it's the right thing to do. Tommy convinces him that once he's made it with his career, he can come back to Lincoln and give Amber, Joaquin, and everyone else everything they've ever wanted. Meanwhile, Amber is crying in her parents' kitchen when her father comes down. She lies to him that she's worried about Talent Fest, but he isn't buying it. She finally admits that it's about Jake going back to Nashville, and her mother joins them as she pours her heart out. Her parents reassure her that everything will be all right. They believe that Jake won't make the same mistake again, and they believe that even if he does, Amber is strong enough this time to carry on without him. Back in Nashville, Marvin is gushing about the new single, but Jake can only sit on the couch, staring into space and worrying about what's happening in Lincoln. Amber meets up with Joaquin and tries to encourage him, but he isn't sure he can get up on stage without Jake. The talent show begins, with many acts of all ages and backgrounds performing, including Mason, who has an amazing singing voice that nobody knew about. Spencer then introduces Joaquin, who steps up on stage and bravely begins his performance. However, he gets nervous and freezes up halfway through, fumbling the chords, and stops playing. Just as he is about to walk off, embarrassed, the sound of another guitar comes out of nowhere and Jake steps up onto the stage beside him, encouraging him to continue. The pair finish the song as a duet and everyone cheers for Joaquin. Backstage, Amber finds Jake and thanks him for coming back. He's sad that she's so surprised to see him, understanding that she believed he was gone for good. He professes that he realized he was making the same mistake again, and pulls her into a kiss, promising that from there on, he won't let her go. They're going to continue making music together, right there at home. 6 months later, Jake released his debut album without the help of a record label, letting his music speak for itself. The news reports on his incredible sales and rising fame, and the partnership between him and his band member, singer, songwriter, and fiancée, Amber. The two are up on stage together in a televised concert performance, singing their hearts out to the first song they ever made together, the one about broken hearts, broken dreams, and two soulmates finding each other. The movie draws to a close as the credits roll, and they sit together watching Joaquin performing for a crowd. Having finally gotten over his stage fright,